Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inloco MetaTalks. My name is Elsa, also known as Inloco Sharky. I am the curator of Inloco Gallery and your host for the MetaTalks series. A huge thank you for being with us today, whether you are joining us in spatial, on YouTube, or via a LinkedIn stream. We are starting this year together, and this is our first MetaTalks of 2026. And we are kicking off this season with a topic that lies at the very heart of the immersive future, the art of VR filmmaking. And to guide us through this topic today is not just a specialist, but a true pioneer and a virtual documentary director. While most of us were still learning to navigate VR, he was already filming plays on virtual stages, documenting key moments in the metaverse, and turning fleeting digital experiences into lasting artifacts. Please join me in welcoming our guest, Carlos Costin, a pioneer of VR cinematography, founder of Carlos Costin Studios, and the virtual director whose camera has captured events for NASA, BBC, the Venice Film Festival, and the Virtual Worlds Museum. Carlos has brought his third generation photography expertise into the digital realm. His method is live multi camera filming directly inside virtual worlds, from spatial to VRChat. He doesn't just stream an event, he creates its visual history, chronicle of an emerging digital culture. If last time with Kent By we discussed the philosophy of immersive tech, today we are diving into the magic of embodiment, the art of visual storytelling, and documentation in VR. How do you create emotion when you are not behind the camera but inside the frame? How do you curate the viewer's gaze in a space without gravity? And can a VR recording become a new form of collective memory? Carlos, you have a unique experience. You not only record history, but help us see it. We are ready to view the metaverse, extended reality through the lens of your camera. And a quick but important note for all viewers, if this is your first MetaTalks and you are watching from the main hall spatial, you will find a portal to YouTube at the back. Jump in after the talk to dive into our archive of past sessions. And if you're already watching the stream or recording, head over to the Inloco Gallery channel where a dedicated playlist awaits with all our previous conversations. Carlos, the stage is yours. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Elsa, Olga, and Inloco Gallery for having me as a guest here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for showing up today. I know that you guys are busy with life, and I appreciate you taking the time to drop by and check out what I have to say. Usually I'm behind the camera, so it's kind of unusual for me to be in front of the camera as I am today. Um, with that said, I'm going to give you kind of a sum up of what I do. So I call myself VR filmmaker. And for any of you that have gone to a television show where they have multi-camera setup, or you see the behind the scenes of camera setup where you have three cameras, at least three cameras, but there can be a lot more than that. That's what I do in virtual reality. So I have a setup here. Let me see. I'll show you in a minute. But basically, I have an account, several accounts. In this particular situation, I have three accounts in here. So there's a camera in the very back, and then there's one over here in the corner that is showing you guys, and then my point of view, what I'm seeing, and this is all being recorded on a program by the name of vMix, which is a program like OBS that is out of Australia, and you have to pay for it, but it's like OBS on steroids. And for those of you that don't know what OBS is, It's a recording program that you can capture digital content off your computer screen. I want to show you a video that I did for a few years ago for Venice Biennale. They asked me to go into the different worlds that they were showcasing that year and to record some footage of it. Then I had my wonderful friend Shushu edit it, and he put together the 6-minute video which shows us traveling, or me traveling through these different worlds that were created by awesome artists, primarily in VRChat. And we'll let Elsa play the audio and the tape or the video, and then I'll come back and give you some more background of how I do things and the magic behind the curtains. Go ahead, Elsa.
Everybody, we're gonna go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come, CP, let's go.
Ciao! But it sounds nice there, no, Italian. We can even speak Italian. You don't understand, but you can feel it, no? You can feel it. You can feel it.
Here we go, we'll have to dance.
You can feel it.
Well, I hope you're taping it.
I am.
There we go.
Very good, very good. Well done. 10 points. Are all going to, I think we look great. We look great. You look fantastic. You guys look so good. You make me so happy. Let's go. Magic. Let's go. Okay, and then this is a and then let's go.
You can feel it.
Beyond the bit. Beyond the bit. Beyond the bit. Beyond the bit. Beyond the bit.
We're gonna go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Welcome to the sewers of Tokyo. Hi.
I love the visual effects that have this. Here we are at the sport of the world. I love the visual effects that have this. Sport of the world.
Click on it. Excellent. I love art. Art is so arty. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
I hope you're taping it.
I am. Magic.
It is a big, weird, improvisational project, and I wish I had more to say.
A person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts.
I wish I had more to say.
Very good. Very good. Well done. 10 points. Boom. Magic. Dr. Moreau's epilogue. Definitely one of the best roles. Let's go. Let's go.
You can
Perfect, no
Thank you very
problem.
much.
You've seen what you need to
Have a
see.
nice
You're
day.
most welcome.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Super. Cheerio. Take it easy. Magic. Thank you guys so long for being great participants and fantastic, enjoyable, wonderful people to hang out in VR with. I want to also thank CP Austin for being the #1 cinematographer and filmmaker of the Biennale. Who else? The Venice Immersive crew, all the docents and the curators, Venice Biennale, VR Room, all of these people. Wonderful time. Thank you and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Very good. So I might have started by telling you guys that the way this was organized is that they had docents or tour guides, and they actually set up stations in Venice on the island there where they had the Venice Biennale, and they had people, Italians or foreigners or whatever, come in and put a headset on and then go into these worlds, and the docent would give them a walk through these different worlds and explain to them a little bit of what the artist was trying to talk about and stuff like that. So I went with several of the docents, but the one that I really found very entertaining was this guy that you heard his voice. His name is Lex, and he's in South Africa, and he's very animated character. He's always happy and stuff. And so Shushu chose to have him, since we had so much footage of him talking, to use him kind of as a voiceover and to show the different worlds that I filmed in. It was a really exciting thing to do, and believe it or not, these worlds still exist in VRChat, so you can go back and visit them if you have a VR headset. It's obviously the best way to do it, but you can also go in on desktop, and VRChat is vrchat.com. You can download the client and it's only PC, unfortunately, not Mac, and then go in and check out some of these. And you can also find the list of the different worlds on Venice Biennale's website. Okay, so Elsa, if you would be so kind and move these slides all the way to the very end. Now, I'm going to give you a tip while she's doing that. If you hit F11 on your browser, I don't know what browser you're using, but typically F11, what it'll do is it'll fill up the entire screen. And then if you hit H, the letter H on your keyboard, for those of you that are on desktop, it will hide all the interface, and then you will have a clearer picture of what we're doing here today. This is me in my studio. I bought a computer every Black Friday here in America, which is a thing that they have after Thanksgiving in November, and the electronics are discounted heavily. So I have been buying machines. I have 6 computers in this room, and in this case, right now I'm using 4 of them. And so here I have, I don't know if you can see that. Do I have a pointer in here? I think I do. I have 2 screens for each computer. One has the interface of the computer, and then the other one has the actual game. So for example, Spatial would be in the second screen on the top. And then the other computer would have the interface, which is where it says Engage. And then over here, the other screen that has Engage, that's actually the game, and that's what I'm recording. The computer underneath that has the little guy and the color bars, that is the program BMix, and underneath it you can see these little windows. Those are the different points of view that come in from my computers onto that I can select using this keypad that is right here where I'm sitting in my chair, and I press camera 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how many cameras I have. I have a keyboard for each machine, of course, and then I have headphones for each machine so that I can monitor it. My audio is monitored by that device in the center there. And then this display over here, it shows me the return from YouTube, showing me that I have audio and video coming through the pipeline. In other words, this goes out to the internet, goes through YouTube, and then comes back here. So the other thing that I also am able to do is that I have a friend in Pittsburgh by the name of John Harvey that goes by Digitally Wired, and he is able to send me his point of view through the internet that shows up here on vMix. And I can tell him, for example, John, go over here and get a close-up of Elsa. So he comes over here, and when he's got the camera set up and everything, then I take his shot. And we communicate using a program called Discord, which is a program that was originally designed for gamers to communicate while they're playing the game. So I use my phone with Discord on it, and that way there's no bleed of my conversation getting into my recordings. And I tell John, okay, go to that point and turn around, frame the shot this way. And I can see him doing that. And then once he's got the shot set up, then I take his shot. So for those of you that have been to television studios or have seen behind the scenes, you can see that you have the control room, which is where the director is, and then the technical director and other staff that are in there. I do it all by myself, which is really crazy because of all the electronics that we have available to us now. This device that I use to switch with is called a Stream Deck. And it's made by Elgato and so forth and so on. I also, if you see up there, there's some Xbox controllers similar to this one right here. And these are made by a different company called Cyclone. And I'm able to use that to fly around in the world. Like, for example, here in Spatial, I can fly around the camera, and even by hitting the minus or the plus, I can go faster or slower. I can raise the camera and lower it, et cetera, et cetera. So all those tools help me create an experience that I see through my eyes, and then I put that out on LinkedIn or YouTube. And by the way, those of you that are watching this on a two-screen, hello to you all too. Thank you for coming up. This person over here, I believe, that is sitting here quietly is Andy Fidel, and she is a influencer, heavy duty. She's got she has a thing going called Get Social, and you can find her on LinkedIn, and she does events on a weekly basis, and she is very good about bringing people together in the XR environment. She and I met way back in 2018 in Altspace and kind of got started with this thing of VR filmmaking. I kept going with it, and then she got into the whole community aspect of it. Unfortunately, I can't see your name tags, so except for loud silence here. Come on in, whoever's at the door. But anyway, so let me get on with the presentation here. So there's a lot of technical stuff, and I don't want to bore you guys with that stuff. We're going to have a Q&A at the end of this, so you can unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can do it through the chat. But each platform has a unique set of tools. I go into every platform that I possibly can and then find out what the tools are available and then use those as best as possible. For example, there's a platform called Sansar. They have an invisible camera that you can fly around. You can control the speed of it. You can go up and down on it and everything. Super, super nice to use in there. VRChat just put in a dolly, a camera dolly, which in traditional filmmaking is a vehicle that runs on tracks, and that you have guys or gals that push the camera back. The camera's mounted on that dolly, and then they move it back and forth to capture stuff. You'll see that in filmmaking where they make the dolly shots very slow. It's also called tracking. So VRChat now has that. You have to pay extra. You have to pay $100 or $110 a year to have access to that. But you can actually put all these points inside the virtual world and then run the camera to run on that track. You can control the speed of it, where it looks at, what it's looking at, et cetera, and then save that, and then come back and repeat that same movement with the camera if you have a multiple day event that I sometimes will have. Spatial is pretty cool in many respects. The plus side of it is that you can do it on the internet, on a browser, you can do it on your phone, and you can do it in VR. I myself obviously am in VR. Whenever people can move their hands like this, it means that they're in VR. I just talked about the Dolly VRChat, and then there's another platform called Resonite that is PC only, and they have, there's a guy, he's originally English but lives in Netherlands now, and he created what's called a video switcher. So for example, on this person right here, Sandy, I can pin a camera that looks at him, and then I can also pin another camera that looks over his shoulder, and then another camera that looks at what he's looking at. And I have this switcher in front of me that I can see all those different views and then click, and then that is what goes out and gets recorded. So that's very close to traditional television, where you have an actual switcher. That's the one that I use in that Xbox controller. I mean the Stream Deck. But in real life, you have this big console that has buttons for each all these different points of view, and the director's calling the shots. Take one. Standby camera one, take one, standby three, take three, et cetera, et cetera. So you can also watch on YouTube if you ever want to see actual live production. You can find a video that shows you how they do that in a control room. So Resonite has this wonderful video switcher. They also have the possibility, like for example, if it's too dark in the space, I can just spawn a light off of my inventory, and then I could put it right here next to Sandy. I would, put it somewhere over here, and then I would be able to light up his avatar so that I could see him really well. And you can move these lights around. You just laser them and grab them. You can make them bigger or smaller and stuff like that. So super, super nice. Resonite is a very unusual platform. And if those of you that have good PCs, I highly recommend you go check it out. The best thing is to join their Discord, and that way you can see when their events and stuff, so that you can go and see that, because you don't have that many people in there, because it is PC VR. It requires you to have a beefy computer to be able to run it. So if you go and look on the internet, you'll find the name, or on Wikipedia, you'll find what I do was called, and still is called, machinima. And basically what it is, it's doing filmmaking in computer worlds. That's basically what the definition of that is. But I have taken it to the next level and call it filmmaking. As Elsa said, I'm third generation photographer. I shot weddings and family portraitures for over 20 years. And when I discovered VR back in 2017, I absolutely fell in love with it and had to figure out, how can I continue to do VR? And so I came up with the idea of doing VR filmmaking, and started in a platform called High Fidelity, which does not exist anymore. But they hired me to do several of their shows and stuff like that. And then I just kept going. One of the other platforms that I used a lot was Altspace, which was owned by Microsoft. and then one day they just pulled the plug on that and shut that down. And so it's very painful when that happens, but it is what technology is. You buy something, you use it for a little bit, and then it's discontinued, as those of you know with Samsung and with your iPhones. Worlds are built, if you don't know, in several programs that are all available for free, which is Blender, Unity, and Unreal Engine. And these avatars that all of you guys have right now, they were created or are based out of a company called Ready Player Me. Unfortunately, Netflix bought them several months ago, and as of tomorrow or day after tomorrow, the avatars are done. You can download the avatar, and you have to take it into Blender. You have to add bones to it and stuff. For those of you that understand that stuff, I don't understand it. But you are able to keep your avatar. But after day after tomorrow, basically all the avatars that are from Ready Player Me are going bye-bye. And I don't know what Spatial, for example, since they rely on these avatars, and actually many platforms rely on it, what they're going to do about it. Okay, so setting up in Spatial IO, I'm using this as an example. As I told you earlier, I have multiple accounts. If you look behind you and over here at the top, those little boxes, the little translucent boxes with a circle on it, those are actual cameras. And all of you can actually go into filmmaking mode. You go in your menu and you select the filmmaking mode, and then your avatar turns into that little box. So I have, as I said, 2 accounts that are different emails, and they have, so I have Spatial there. And then right now I'm also recording what I seen using casting that I have a Quest 3 on, and you're able to send that to a computer, and then that computer is feeding it to vMix, the program that I record with. I mentioned here that you should have one avatar, as all of you, like for example, Elsa has this shark avatar, and whenever you see, you go, oh, well, that's Elsa. And earlier, Olga was in here, and she had a shark avatar, and I thought she had a different one before, and I was thinking that Elsa also had a duplicate. But what I'm trying to say here is that we all have, all the people that do this on a regular basis, we have avatars that we use on in the platform all the time, so people recognize us immediately. For example, there's a guy by the name of Jason Moore he loves bulldogs, English bulldogs, so he has a little bulldog with a tuxedo on. And when he got married, the story is that he had a friend created these bulldogs that they used on top of the cake, the wedding cake. And then he decided to have an avatar maker make him an avatar with a bulldog, and he has it in multiple platforms like Resonite and VRChat, for example. I have a lot of avatars, and I try to stick to the same ones. Many times, a lot of people just recognize us by our voice because we hang out so much. So they recognize, oh, that's Carlos kind of thing. But sometimes I have different accounts, as I mentioned, so they'll see a different name and they don't recognize it. But if you open the bio, you'll see that it's me. So you use your avatar as kind of a branding kind of thing. Audio is half of the experience of recording. So 50% is video and the other percent is audio. If you have really good video and terrible audio, then you're screwed. I mean, it doesn't work. So one of the biggest struggles that I had when I first started doing this was trying to get the audio to work, because Windows is such a finicky machine the way they deal with audio. I had to eventually buy a mixer, which is the one that I pointed out in front of me on that picture of me sitting at my control in my chair. And I can watch the audio and pay attention to the levels that they're not peaking and freaking out. And I also wear the headphones and make sure that the audio goes from the game into the system to record and then comes out. And that confidence monitor that I had to the right side of me, I'll turn the audio on, make sure that it's coming through and that it's nice and clean. So camera options here, native tools, first person, third person, and transparent avatars. Basically, you can have the point of view of what I'm looking at, but one of the things that happens is that people get sick when they see you looking at stuff in VR. Like, for example, if you're in your Quest and you cast to your TV with your friends over, they can't watch that for very long because the way we move our heads and stuff like that, it just gets very nauseating. So that's why I use the camera dollies and the Xbox controller and stuff like that to be able to make the movements very smooth and that you're not supposed to notice the movement when you do camera work in Whirl. Talked about some of the recording programs, OBS, Streamlabs, vMix, and then of course Quest has a built-in recording feature. You can go into settings of your Quest and then tell it if you want a square format or if you want 16 by 9 and how much data you're willing to sacrifice or dedicate so that the picture is better or worse. In spatial, they don't really have this, but in some of the platforms, you have what's called God's voice, which means that you can click on something and then everybody in the world can hear you. And then, for example, Resonite, they have what's called a whisper bubble, which you get close to somebody and you click that on, and then you can talk to that person and nobody can hear your conversation outside of that bubble. So that's very practical when you go into parties and stuff where you want to carry on a conversation with a friend and it's just very hard to talk because you're competing with everybody else that's talking plus the music. For example, in VRChat, I'll turn the music way down and then there's ear muff feature in VRChat that you can put how far you can hear people and you adjust the distance from your avatar to that point so that you can just concentrate on the people that are around you and not outside of that circle. Here are some of the tools that I use. Obviously the keyboard, Xbox controller. I've also actually put my headset. I have the head of a dummy head that is used by people that learn to cut hair. And I put my headset on that, and then I actually mounted it on a track that they use, a dolly track. But I would move it back and forth, and it just didn't make much of a difference. So, and it took a lot of room in my studio, so I decided not to go with that. But the primary tools that I use are these Xbox game pads to be able to move around and stuff. And then you can find the different commands or shortcuts that allow you to raise the camera, go up and down and stuff like that. For example, here, I think it's E to go up and Q to come down when you go into the film mode. When I do also shows, for example, if I have the opportunity to get the slide deck, like the one that I'm showing you guys right now, if I have an opportunity to get it from the author, then when they're talking about stuff, I can flash their screen up on vMix so that it's easy to read. For those of you that are in the back of the room, it's kind of hard to read the text that is right here going on here. Light is the hero of photography. It has always been and it will always be. So when you build worlds, you want to make sure that if you want it to be recorded and stuff, that you have really good light on the avatars and the visible. So I've talked about OBS and doing all of that business. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. Editing, you can use Premiere from Adobe, DaVinci Resolve, which is a free program and super powerful, Final Cut, which runs on Macintosh, and then Vegas, which is a German company, and they have a fairly good solution, but it doesn't have all the features that the other programs have. You can subscribe to sound libraries and music libraries that you can use music royalty, or that you won't get tagged by copyright infringement by YouTube or any of the platforms that you have your videos on. And so you can they'll give you the license so that you can send that to YouTube and tell them that you're good to go. There's different formats. There's the MP4s, which is typically for Windows. It's the format that is used for Windows, and then MOV is for Macintosh. And then you have the different resolutions, meaning how good the picture is HD, 2K, or 4K, or even 8K. There's rarely anything being done above 4K because you need to have a good pipeline to be able, a good internet system to be able to take that. Distribution, there's all these different, let me see, distribution pass, social media, film festivals, like there's Rain Dance and VRChat, and also the Venice Film Festival or Immersive Festival, and blah, blah, blah. There's some of the other platforms I use: Hubs Foundation, Rec Room, Frames VR, and Arrival are some of the other ones. So whenever I do these shows, I come in, like for example, for this one, I came in 2 days with Elsa, and we did rehearsals. The first one was a little on the rough side, but the second one worked fine. And you want to test, and make sure everything works, and then test. I remember one show I did in Alt Space. I had tested everything. The next day I came in and they changed the version. They updated the software, and when they did that, they broke the functionality that I needed for that particular show. So you have to be ready for surprises like that. And typically, John, the guy that I told you that I work with, he and I come in at least an hour before showtime and test everything, make sure it all works, and then we're ready to go. And I have also an atomic clock, which is a clock that reaches out to the mother of all clocks that only loses milliseconds every 100 years or something like that on my wall. And then that way I can start the show exactly at that time so that it works all the way around the world, that all of you guys know that if it starts at 11 o'clock my time, it will start at 7 o'clock your time. And then after the event's all over with, then I have to back up the footage, and I have like over 40 external hard drives. And the way I name my files, I name the year, the month, the day, and then a brief description of what the event is. So for this one would be 2026 01 29, and then it would be spatial, and then it would be Inloco gallery, and then Elsa. So whenever I go to look for that footage someday in 2 years from now or something, I'm able to just remember either Elsa's name or Inloco gallery or spatial and type that in the search, and I'm able to find it. My channel is Carlos Austin, Austin, on YouTube. I don't have many subscribers, like 596, I think is the last count. If you do go there, please subscribe. I have a lot of good stuff, and I have a lot of dumb stuff. I'm not going to say another word about that, but you can get a sense on my LinkedIn account, which is Carlos Austin, that you can also send me a friend request if you wish. I have featured under there, and that's the more pretty work that I've done and is finished. This picture right here is actually from Sansar, and I go on a world hop with these people every Saturday at 1 o'clock Central Time in U.S. And the guy in the green here with a white head, he's in Ukraine. And then the guy with a green sweater in the back, he's in Denmark. The guy with the helmet, he's in UK. The guy with a white jumpsuit, he's in Spain. And then this little kid, he's in New York. And then these two other people, they never talk, but you're always welcome to join people and come in and hang out with us. The thing about some of the platforms, there's not very many people in them, so you have to find out when their events are and then go in for those things. For example, this is at 1 o'clock on Saturday, but at 12 o'clock, they have the community meeting where the main guys from Sansar show up and hear what request you want for the platform or what's being worked on, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, I thank you very much for lending me your ears for this brief moment. I think Elsa has some questions that she wanted to ask me. And of course, we open the questions up to you guys to either do the chat, just talk to me by clicking on the microphone. Elsa, it's back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, prepare your questions and prepare to unmute yourself if you want to ask your questions. So, and I also wanted to pinpoint the hack with multiple clocks. It's amazing idea, and I think I need the same because when I communicate and create all these processes for Inloco MetaTalks, I communicate with different people from different time zones, etc. So that's amazing. Yeah, prepare your questions, and I'd like to start. So, Carlos, your journey is from a third generation photographer to a pioneer in VR filmmaking. How did your experience with real light and composition influence your perspective on virtual worlds?
Okay, so that's a good question. You know, that's kind of funny. Everybody always says that. That's a good question. I think it's kind of a fad with these kind of things. But so, as I said, I'm third generation. My grandfather was a photographer. Then my father, he did it part-time and didn't do it full-time, but he also had all the good gear. And then my wife and I, we did wedding photography, as I mentioned, for over 20 years in Austin, Texas. So we started with film, and then around the year 2000, we migrated over to digital and did that. And then when I came in here, there's no more film. Actually, it's just recording on hard drives and stuff like that. But the ideas of composition are, still part of the way I see the world and how I tell the story. I position myself in a way that I can that I that I'm able to tell a story that is interesting. Many times in VR, what a lot of people do is that they just set up a camera in the back of the room and then record whatever's in front of it. And I, I myself, I find that quite boring, and so I prefer to have. I came up with this system of television. I also worked in Los Angeles for 2.5 years in video and film, and so I was able to actually work in the control booth and direct shows and stuff, and that's where I got my background for switching shows back and forth. So yeah, does that answer your question, Etsa?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Does your wife also work in digital
Yes,
as a?
yes. She
uh,
so what also
and
happened to us in our business is that people usually hire younger people, and since I had been in the business for as long as I was, I kind of the younger people would offer to do what we did for much less amount of money. And so little by little, my business started to dry up. My wife went over to bookkeeping, keeping our books and also working for a bookkeeper. But she went to school for photography, and she and I worked as a couple and did the weddings together. So, uh,
okay, nice, thank you. When did you first realize that platforms like VRChat or Spatial are not just tools but full-fledged places for creativity and even documentation? So it's a good question because people still, my mom, for example, still think that I'm doing some kind of gaming or something here in metaverse, and a
Hmm.
lot of people still don't accept it as something serious. So
Yes,
about you.
that is a kind of a weird thing that a lot of people just have a problem with virtual reality. They want to live life in the real world, they say. But this is real life for us too. I mean, the electricity that our brain is moving back and forth for us to perceive what we're doing right now, it's the same energy that it takes to do in the natural world or in the world without VR. And I have a neighbor, for example, that I invited to come to this show, but she won't even put on a VR headset. So if you don't try it, how can you even, criticize it and I think a lot of it has to do with the media because they keep saying the metaverse is dead and things like this, um, which it isn't. And I know that there's a lot of for example, Meta has decided to let go of a lot of people from their virtual reality, but we're still here. And I'm just, I started with high fidelity, as I mentioned, which was started by Philip Rosedale, who started Second Life back in the early 2000s. And then he did this high fidelity project, but one day he called us in on a meeting and said, look, I'm losing $10,000 a month and I'm not making any money on this, so I have to shut this down. And so he did. But we had already built a community in there. And through several of the people that I met in there, I started doing filmmaking and found that I could do that. And I got paid for it. So I mean when you can do something that you love and get paid for it, that is a really good thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a perfect segue into talk about avatars as an expressive medium. You talk about a recognizable um, voice and avatar as part of one's identity. And for a gallery presenting work in the metaverse, is the viewers and artist's avatar part of the exhibition? And how can a curator work with this new body to enhance, not disrupt, the perception of art?
Okay, say that one more time, but a little different. You're talking about using the avatar as a branding,
Yeah, as an
yes?
expressive medium.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
as an artistic expression, like
yeah,
you with your chart, for example.
avatar and voice. Yeah,
Yeah. So I don't, is that these avatars that are in Sansar, they have been doing the right thing with the metaverse for a long time. When you walk in a with an avatar in here, it looks like you're really walking. It's not like you're scooting across the floor, like sliding like Michael Jackson or something like that. This avatar, the one with the neon right here, that's my avatar. And this is a mixture of, believe it or not, from this guy by the name of Jamal, who is an electronic engineer in Paris, and he designed all these clothes that are just, they're so crazy. As you can see, when you see my avatar in real life, I have neon going through the entire suit. It's like a neon sign. And then the glasses were designed by a Brazilian architect by the name of Jackson. And I bought this. This outfit cost me $12. And so I use this avatar all the time in Sansar, and so people recognize as these other people also do that. This guy right here with the helmet on, his name is Loki. He designs his own avatars, and every time we meet, or many times, he has a brand new T-shirt. Or this guy, but he goes by the name of Ninja. He changes his T-shirts on a regular basis. But in VRChat, for example, I don't know how much people pay. I've heard people pay up to $700 for an avatar. And there's a club in VRChat called ShelterNet. And I went to they had three DJs this past Saturday playing, and they have avatars in there that are just unbelievable. They have these amazing tattoos and piercings and clothes and stuff. And when the music is playing, the tattoos change colors and things like that. I mean, it's just artwork, walking artwork. And people really are completely committed to having their identity in VR. And they also buy body trackers that they attach to their physical body, on the elbows, on their waist, and on their feet, and so they can move around and they look like real humans, and they are real humans in virtual space with their beautiful avatars.
Yeah, thank you. And that resonates directly with Andy's question. So Andy Fida asks, how do you hype people up in VR? In person, I feel like we have our faces, smiles, body language, etc. How do you make sure people in VR are interesting captures?
One of the primary ways that I do that is by bringing the camera. See this camera right here in front of me, from Olga. So if you can do what's called a mid shot, that means from the waist up to the top of the head. A lot of avatars have a lot of they have face recognition where they can actually see the lips moving, the blinking of the eyes, and then the mannerisms of being able to move the hands around. So that really brings the personality out of the person that is inside the avatar, or in using the avatar in VR space. And that's one of the main tools that I use in filmmaking, is to bring the camera close up, and then I have another camera that's in the back of the room. And then I told you about my coworker, John, that he'll have another camera perhaps on Elsa, so that as the conversation goes, right now the camera's on me, so I switch to the close up of myself. And then when Elsa goes to talk, then it cuts to her. And then the wide shot is sometimes you need to move the camera. So what you do is you go to a wide shot and then move the camera, make the adjustment, and then take the camera that you're interested in showing. For example, if there were more people here talking, or for example, if Andy were asking me the question, I would ask John to go over and stand in front of Andy. And so when Andy starts to ask the question, we could cut to her, then back to me, and then go to the wide shot. Then John would bring the camera back to Elsa, because he knows that she's going to be asking the next question. And you just get this rhythm going that allows you to tell the story of what's going on in this space.
Yes, complicated chain. So yeah, yeah, it also depends on different platforms, etc. By the way, about platforms, Sandy Ed asks, what do you think about EngageXR platform?
Uh, Engage is, I love going into Engage. There's a lot of really good programs in there. The tools are okay. I'm not crazy about the avatars. They've been working on those for a number of years, and they still kind of look weird from my point of view. But the people that run Engage, they're out of Ireland, I believe. And then you have Chris Matson, who is here in Utah, that is the representative. They're all super, super nice. And if you have any questions or any problems, they will step up and try to help you fix it. I highly recommend for you guys to check out Engage. That also runs on desktop. And by the way, you can get Steam, and then from Steam, you can download all these different programs and use them off of Steam. So, for example, in Engage, one of the nice things that I have is that I have an invisible avatar, and that allows me to go like right up here to, like, for example, Sandy. When I'm right here in front of him, it makes him uncomfortable because I'm in his personal space. But when you have an invisible avatar, you can get close there, and he doesn't feel the pressure of having somebody right in their face, kind of thing.
And I also wanted to link to the slides about best practices and advices. And from your best practices, comprehensive planning, arriving early, backups, if our gallery were to create not a talk but an immersive walkthrough exhibition in spatial, what single most important technical or organizational piece of advice would you give based on your filming experience?
Okay, this is it's just one word, Elsa, light. Light. If you have a well-lit situation, then it's very easy for people to see what you're showing inside that space. So light is the hero of photography, as I mentioned earlier. And for me, I'm always looking for spaces that are well lit. And for example, in VRChat, you can have a Ready Player Me avatar, like I have now. If you go into certain spaces, you're completely black. You can't see any of the features or anything. And that is because whoever built the world did not take into consideration those kind of avatars. And you have to do, I don't know what the technical stuff is, but you have to do something to make sure that those avatars are visible. This guy that I told you that edited my video of Venice, Shushu, he builds worlds, and he put a tool inside of VRChat that I can hit the tab key, it brings up a menu, and then hit avatar light, and it lights up the avatars in a dark space. And so I'm able to film in there, and you can actually see the avatars, for example.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for naming that. A lot of things to keep
Consider.
in mind
Yeah.
when you, yeah, when you build or when you shoot, and there are so many details. And you mentioned Venice, and I just wanted to uh, ask one more question about practical advices in future. Looking at the evolution of VR language from the Venice Film Festival to today's social spaces, what technique or trend inspires you most as an artist, and what, on the contrary, seems outdated? And generally, where is immersive storytelling heading next?
Well, uh, it looks like all the companies like Apple and Meta and a bunch of Chinese companies, they're all working on combining glasses with AI. And all the money that was being used to develop VR, for example, we were supposed to have a Quest 4, and then they stopped that project, and then they got rid of, you know, a lot of people from Meta, for example, and they're putting all that money into developing AI in the glasses. I think what the future is going to look like is that we're going to be able to have glasses that are light on our head, that have good battery, and that we can see what we're seeing right now. But that is, I don't know how long it's going to take for that. Everybody's guessing how long that's going to be. We're hoping that VR would catch on to the masses, but it didn't. And the way I heard somebody describe it a long time ago was the iPhone moment. iPhone came out in 2007, I believe, and all of you guys, most of you have a smartphone in your pocket, whether it's Samsung or iPhone, and you just don't live without it. And also computers, they came out in the early 80s, and nobody was going to, they were expensive and everything, and now everybody has a laptop or an iPad or something or other. So for VR to have this kind of acceptance, I think it's going to be a bit longer. The way I also think of it is that internet started to become popular in the early 90s. I got into it in 95, and what this social space that we're in right now, it's 3D internet. So if you guys come in a VR headset, I can go over here to loud silence and I can tap on them on the shoulder. I can grab stuff when I'm in VR. You guys are on desktop, and what's so weird, for example, no offense here for Chris here, you see he's looking down over here. But if you take your mouse and you're on desktop, you can actually move the mouse around and then look at stuff, um, and then look like you're actually alive, because the way the this avatar is see, now he's doing it and he's looking at me. Hi, Chris. So that's another trick about these avatars is if you grab the mouse, you can move it back and forth, and that way he's now looking at me. I'm originally from Mexico, and we consider it very rude to show your back to people's. When you're in a room with people, you don't turn your back on people. It's just rude. So if you look around here, a lot of you guys have your back to me, but I know how this platform is, and then that's just what it is. So thanks, Chris, for being my model there. And
Yeah,
Olga,
yeah, that's
go
still
ahead.
too heavy stuff. I mean, when you, it's a good note, by the way, about 3D internet. I think that should be named exactly like this. But yeah, that's still heavy. I mean, even to wear VR headset physically and even mentally. For example, the one with epilepsy can't use VR headset, or the one with some other, problems with the fastly changing light or picture or whatever. Yeah, they can
Cyber
have,
sickness,
they can be
cyber sickness.
overwhelmed.
Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah,
that
exactly.
that is a big issue. But most people seem to be able to handle glasses perfectly okay. The Beyond headset from Big Screen, it's like those swimming goggles that you use when you're working out. They're so tiny. You have to be hooked up to a
Yeah,
cable and stuff. But they are supposedly, I've never put them on, but I've heard the wonderful things of what it could be if people, and then they're expensive. So we need to be in a price point of, I don't know right now what Quest is, $250 to $300, where we don't mind. I pay $300 for my glasses, just for my eyes. So I think $300 is a reasonable prime point to be able to buy a headset that will give you the freedom. I do
right.
find my Quest heavy after X amount of time inside.
Yeah, yeah, but that's still not affordable for.
For
It's
most
not
of the
affordable
people,
for everybody. I mean,
right?
VR headset okay, but glasses might be not affordable. It depends. It depends on person,
And the country and their
the
economy.
country. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course, of
yeah.
course. So let's return to the beginning, from the tactility of film to the abstraction of code. Do you feel a loss of materiality as an artist, or have you discovered a new essentiality, for example, in the freedom of camera movement or in transformation for an avatar? And what in this process brings you that very joy of creation that started it at all?
So my first experience that I did in VR was the one where I decided I had to buy this was the tutorial that Meta had. Back then it was the Oculus Rift, and it's a little robot that pops up and he shows you how to use the controllers and how to grab things and stuff. When I did that tutorial, I go, this is incredible. And then at the end of the tutorial, it says, now raise your hands and see what your VR hands can do. And I really felt something emotional and physical when I heard that. And I just completely love this way. I love the social aspect of it because I don't like driving anymore because the traffic is just insane. There's a lot of people that are not qualified to be driving on the streets here where I live. And every time you go out, you take a risk of dying. literally. So I like to be able to be home, and here I'm talking to Elsa, which is in Serbia, correct? Elsa?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Andy she's gone now, but she's in France. And then the rest of you guys are just in different parts of the world. And to be able to have access to your lifestyle and what you do in real life, I think it's just fantastic that I just go up into my studio, put my headset on, and then I have access to all of that. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think I answered your question, but
Yeah, I remember. My the very first parties in VR, and I felt something like phantom movement when my avatar was dancing. It was in spatial and from computer anyway. So
so that
and
was Stilo, right? You're talking about Stilo?
you mean the parties? Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
the parties too.
uh, that was
I used to go to
party
those
of the
parties
still.
too. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much. I'm glad you're still here.
yeah, of course. 211 weeks in a row. And it's great to see
Whoop,
you. I've been to some of your talks where you're in VR, and I love it. You always have the best
thank you.
slides. So great to see you here. Thank you, Elsa.
Thank
It's
you.
great to see you. I love these. Thank you. Olga, hi.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Stila. I would ask the
Tomiko,
last very little question, if you don't mind,
go ahead.
and then we will finish the event. So, my last question: what new roles should digital creators and artists learn to take on? And let's just imagine an analog artist, for example, someone who working with watercolor or painting on canvas, should approach entering virtual space? And do you think it's necessary for the artist to personally learn how to navigate and create within VR as a medium? Or can this be a collaborative process where another specialist translates the artistic practice into virtual environment?
Loaded question there, Elsa. Very good. Good research you've done. I have several friends that do tilt brush in VR. There's Julian Loch out of Vancouver that has created an amazing world using tilt brush and Engage. It's free to go in and check it out. She's originally, I think, from Malaysia, or her ancestry is from there. So she has these big creatures with fire coming out of their mouths and big eyes and just really crazy stuff. And you go from one spot to another looking not only at the creature from outside, but you can go inside because she has messages inside their brain. And then there's open multi-brush, which is where several people can use and create collaborations together. And people, what they'll do is they'll project that onto a big screen and do a performance in front of the screen, drawing the virtual painting. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I also asked about some new roles. If for example, analog artist should learn to work with digital tools, or that should be some another specialist. But I think it depends. Personally, me, I think it depends, and it's just another tool, actually, like
Right, right.
AI, for example,
So
iPad with stills, etc.
that's right.
Okay.
It's tools.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's just a way to share what's inside our head and our heart out to the public.
yeah. Stila, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, what's interesting is like, just after, this whole cycle that we've had the last couple of years, I've been looking at, like how I'm really doing everything. And, it would have been like, incredible to have like collected more information, from all the people that ever came, to
Yeah.
have like an email list or something like that. So, um, Yeah, it's just very interesting. I'm looking to be better and to be more efficient. And I didn't realize that I wasn't even using like, Instagram like I should, or like, anything else for that matter. Like every platform has a language, every platform has
Yeah.
a different community, a different vibe. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to tackling this year, with like those vibes for, and then I thought, that like automated tweets wouldn't be good because this is what I've been thinking. I'm like, well, like the same thing for every, platform isn't good. Like no one wants to see the same thing here and there, which is true. And then I thought, but there's people that don't see things on other places, there's people that don't see things in, everywhere. So I think it's about like finding that common foundation that you have the spirit inside yourself, the simplicity, the honesty, and uh you have the content being great quality, obviously, and inspiring, hopefully. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just like I'm very, interested. I'm very curious about the space right now, and especially like with all the adjustments, I feel like it's been a big consolidation phase in the last couple of years. A lot of things, are changing, and like base going from social media back to wallets. Everyone's kind of transitioning, consolidating right now. So it's very interesting to see the space, but I'm
It's a wild
looking forward.
time.
Yeah, but I'm
It's
looking
very
forward
wild.
to yeah, how it's gonna evolve, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, having a lot of deep conversations with about this, and nonetheless, I'm excited for this, and I'm excited to do it right, and I'm excited for what it's gonna look like, because I was looking at some VTubers, which is a trend that's going crazy. And I was looking at VR DJs, and I'm like, okay, well, what separates me from them? And I'm looking through TikTok for I looked a couple times, but I looked again yesterday, and I'm like, okay, I have so much content like this, and I can create content like this, and I need to work harder, broaden my spectrum, target the right audience, because what we're doing, like with these Wednesdays, the workshop and the after parties and the music and the chat, it's something, people do like it, they just don't know it's happening, and like for the chat to be going crazy, like imagine if you can jump in and be in the space, and the chat being the main stage, but being in the space is like behind the stage, behind the curtains. So it's very interesting. It's great to connect with you, and I just wanted to share that insight, and,
Yeah.
what your thoughts are on the future.
Well, you're just the nice thing about you, Stilo, is that you're super excited about it, and you're exploring and trying to find what fits for you in this present moment that you're living right now in your life with your family and your friends. And you just have see the tools that are available, grab the ones that you feel comfortable with, and learn new ones that will improve your communication skills to get the word out about what you are and what you are to your community.
Yeah, very interesting how it's all evolving.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Stuart. Then, just like that, in a conversation about how to capture history, we opened the first frame of a new year of Inloco MetaTalks 2026. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you, Carlos. And for us,
Thank
this is
you.
a special milestone because since the fall of 2024, we've been building this space for dialogue together with you for over a year now.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Carlos, our deepest gratitude, your gift for
Spasibo.
seeing not just events in VR, but their visual poetry and narrative value. That's precisely the skill we all need to not just consume, but meaningfully build XR experiences. And to you, our spatial community, an extra and heartful thank you for um, dialogue, for being here, for your questions, You are both the audience and the co-authors of this living archive. Every single one of our gatherings over this past year is proof the future is built not in isolation, but in a dialogue. Your questions are already part of the very culture we are documenting together, and we are concluding this talk as the starting point of a new cycle. Very new cycle we discussed with Kent, but now with a concrete tool in hand, a camera that writes history. Today, Carlos showed us that this cycle will be woven from the footage shot across platforms, from stories told through avatars, and from memory that no longer fades. So let's think of this as the first take of a new season. We'll meet again in new spaces with new guests to explore how art, technology, and community continue to intertwine. And thank you for being with us this past year again, and welcome to the next one. Until next
Yay.
time, in the new cycle, create, document, amaze, and thank you. See you.
Thank you, Elsa, Olga, Stilo, all of you guys. Love you all.
Thank
Wonderful
you. Yeah. Thank you.
2026.
Appreciate you,
Yeah.
man. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you. And also, we have a little tradition. We make group photo. Okay.
Smile. Cheese.